proud one. Asking questions and asking for help was never discouraged or frowned upon, but in all of us invoked a deep sense of inadequacy and even shame. Which is all self-induced. My mom or my dad would never think any less of me, and I would never them for asking a legitimate question. But nonetheless, predisposition to what I think we perceive as a weakness was something I was born with and grew up around. In school, I was always towards the top of my classes, except PE. I accomplished this without any real necessity to study or cram or really even pay attention in most of them. Which makes me sound pompous, I know, but all this to say I felt I was so smart and so gifted that I didn't need to worry about studying and engaging, and namely, asking questions. When you ask a question, you make yourself vulnerable. You're saying, I recognize I'm not as strong in this area as you are. Can you help me? Which is a difficult thing to do when much of your identity revolves around feeling smarter than everybody else around you. The inherent nature of a question, along with my early identity anchor and family culture, made it difficult for me to open up academically. Partway through my 5th grade year, the teacher of my accelerated math class called me in and told me I was struggling largely in part due to my lack of engagement. Like any other 5th grader would do, I ignored what she said. And as a result, I failed the placement test for next year and was dropped down to the grade level math class. I think it's important to mention here that both of my parents are extremely smart. My mom was going to the top university in Taiwan, National Jiaotong, before she came to the States and had me, where she's now the owner of her own company. My dad did his undergrad at Yale before getting his doctorate in mechanical and aerospace engineering at Princeton. All this said, they don't act like they're better than anybody else just because of their background and their education. The family culture I mentioned earlier is not a conscious invention of either of them, and some attempt to make me smarter and stronger than everybody else. It's just a natural consequence of growing up with two parents of their values and backgrounds. My first junior year, I was taking honors physics. I was struggling. I didn't understand what was going on. The concepts didn't make sense to me. I hated it. I kept trying to figure things out myself to do without help, but like Sisyphus pushing his boulder up that hill, as soon as I would get towards the top, another variable would be introduced and I would be reduced to tears on my bedroom floor. Halfway through the year, I gave up. I went to my dad and asked him for help, not out of any interest to help myself improve, not because I wanted to get better at physics, but because I was defeated, and that seemed like the only acceptable course of action. It sounds noble. This is the part where I say that after when I talked to him, everything became so clear. Not only are we closer as father and son, but I want to become a physicist one day. No, it's not what happened. Too little, too late. I still hated physics. I still hated normal forces. There was many nights my dad would help me with my homework, and I would just end up screaming at him and myself, and then again be reduced to tears on that same bedroom floor. But it got better. Not fast enough to make physics good for me, but things did get better. Starting to ask for help halfway through the year wasn't enough. My foundation was already crippled, and nothing could be built upon it. But if I had started asking questions earlier to either my teacher or my dad, well, who's to say? In life, we do not always have the luxury of taking months to be beaten down enough to finally break, to allow our ego to die before seeking help. More often than not in life, you, your body, or your mind will break far before your ego does. So kill your ego now. It is a slow, uncomfortable process, and I don't mean to pretend that I have completely. My ego is still very much alive. There are plenty of times in chem when I don't ask a question that I should, but I like to think I'm getting better. There are times now that I ask a question I wouldn't have before, not only in chem, but in all of my classes. It isn't an instant solution, but it is progress. So do not take that time now to be beaten down. It's not time that you or I have. Political divide and violence at an all-time high. Our ice caps are melting. Suicide is also at an all-time high. We are on the verge of a population crisis, the brink of a third world war. And please, for the love of God, do not get me started on NFTs. There's only one way to ensure our survival and our prosperity: to ask questions today and to act upon them tomorrow. Thank you.